Have you ever tried your absolute best to eat healthier, more vegetables, more smoothies, less junk? Yet deep down, something still feels wrong. Maybe your ankles swell at night, maybe you wake up tired for no clear reason, or maybe your energy just isn't coming back the way it used to. Most people brush these things off as just getting older. But what if those tiny changes are actually your kidneys sending you silent warning signals before the real damage begins? Because here's the terrifying truth: you can lose up to 90% of your kidney function before a single obvious symptom shows up. And by the time people notice something is off, the damage is often already creeping toward the point of no return. I'm Dr. Johnny, and before you take another bite of what you believe is a healthy meal, I need to tell you something that could genuinely save your life. Some of the vegetables you trust the most, the ones you buy because you think you're doing the right thing, may actually be accelerating kidney decline without you having the slightest idea. But here's the good news: in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly which healthy vegetables quietly sabotage your kidneys, and which powerful kidney-healing vegetables can help bring your numbers back down, reduce inflammation, and protect your filtration system for years to come. And as shocking as this sounds, the difference between the foods that hurt you and the foods that heal you can be the thin line between staying healthy and ending up in a hospital bed wondering what went wrong. So stay with me, because what you're about to learn is not just information, it's protection. And once you hear the truth behind these vegetables, you'll never look at your plate the same way again. Let's start with one of the biggest misconceptions people have about healthy eating: tomatoes. Fresh, bright, harmless-looking tomatoes sitting on your counter. By themselves, they're perfectly fine for most people. But the real danger doesn't come from the tomato, it comes from what we turn it into. And this is where so many well-intentioned people get blindsided. Because the moment a tomato is boiled down, thickened, reduced, and concentrated into sauce, paste, ketchup, or juice, its mineral content doesn't just increase a little, it skyrockets. I once worked with a patient named Robert, a 69-year-old retiree who took pride in cooking everything from scratch. Every Sunday, he made a homemade healthy tomato sauce, no preservatives, no canned junk, just pure tomato paste simmered with herbs. He believed it was one of the cleanest foods in his diet. But what he didn't know was that each serving of that sauce carried more potassium than his kidneys could safely process. When his blood work came back, his potassium level was so high that his heart rhythm had already begun to change. His EKG showed irregular spikes, a classic signature of impending hyperkalemia, the kind of quiet cardiac instability that can stop a heart without warning. Here's why that happens. A single cup of unsalted tomato sauce can contain nearly 1,000 milligrams of potassium, almost half the daily safe limit for anyone with reduced kidney function. Tomato paste can be even higher, containing 5 to 10 times more potassium than fresh tomatoes. And the kidneys, unlike the heart or lungs, rarely send obvious distress signals. They don't ache. They don't shout. They simply work harder and harder until they can't keep up, and potassium begins to build in the bloodstream like rising water behind a dam. And when that dam breaks, the consequences are immediate muscle weakness, dizziness, irregular heartbeat, and in severe cases, cardiac arrest. But here's what most people don't realize. You don't have to quit tomatoes entirely. What matters is recognizing how concentration silently transforms a harmless fruit into a mineral bomb. When Robert replaced his thick homemade paste with fresh diced tomatoes and reduced his serving size to just 2 tablespoons per meal, his potassium levels stabilized within weeks. His energy returned, his heart rhythm normalized, and he told me he felt like he finally understood the missing piece of his healthy eating puzzle. And this is where I want you to pause and really think. How many times have you believed a food was healthy simply because it looked natural? How many sauces, soups, or condiments do you eat each week without ever checking how concentrated they are? If you've ever used ketchup, pasta sauce, tomato paste, or even vegetable juice, thinking you were doing your body a favor, you're not alone. Millions of people make this exact mistake every day. But just knowing this alone isn't enough, because what comes next carries an even bigger risk. One most people never even question, and it shows up on nearly every dinner table across America. If concentrated tomato products are the silent overload, then potatoes are the full-blown ambush. They sit on nearly every American dinner table, baked, mashed, roasted, fried, and because they feel familiar, comforting, even nostalgic, most people never imagine that this warm, buttery side dish could be quietly pushing their kidneys toward danger. But familiarity can be deceiving, and in kidney health, it often is. Take Linda, a 64-year-old grandmother who genuinely believed she was doing everything right. She cut out sugar-skipped junk food and filled her plate with what she assumed were safe vegetables. But during one Thanksgiving dinner, she loaded her plate with 3 different potato dishes: mashed potatoes, sweet potato casserole, and roasted red potatoes. It felt like a wholesome choice at the time. No processed junk, no fast food. Yet within hours, her potassium skyrocketed so high that her heart rhythm became unstable. She ended up in the emergency room, terrified, hooked to monitors that beeped with every irregular heartbeat. Doctors diagnosed her with acute hyperkalemia, and one of them told her something that stayed with her for months. It wasn't the dessert that almost sent you into cardiac arrest. It was the potatoes. The science behind this is surprisingly simple. A single medium-baked potato can contain up to 1,000 milligrams of potassium, the same dangerous threshold as concentrated tomato sauce. Sweet potatoes can be even higher. And when kidneys are already slowing down due to age, blood pressure, or even mild chronic kidney disease, they can't filter excess potassium fast enough. It builds up silently in the bloodstream like static interference that slowly scrambles the electrical rhythm of the heart. At first, it causes fatigue and weakness, but as levels rise, the heart signals distort, the rhythm wavers, and the danger becomes immediate. That's why doctors call potassium imbalance a quiet arrhythmia. You never feel it until it's almost too late. But here's the part most people have never heard: there are safe ways to enjoy potatoes without overwhelming your kidneys. It starts with a method called leaching peeling, cutting into small pieces, soaking for several hours, then boiling in fresh water. This process can remove up to 70% of the potassium. Portion control matters too. For anyone with kidney concerns, a quarter-cup serving is the recommended limit. Linda learned this the hard way, but once she switched to leached potatoes, smaller servings, and paired them with low-potassium vegetables like cauliflower, her potassium levels stabilized and her confidence returned. She still enjoys the food she loves, just smarter, safer, and with full awareness of what her kidneys can handle. And as you hear this, I want you to think honestly about your own habits. How many times have you added potatoes to your meals without questioning the hidden load they carry? How often have you believed a dish was healthy simply because it wasn't fried or processed? These tiny assumptions are exactly how kidney damage progresses silently in millions of people each year. But only knowing this isn't enough, because the next superfood on our list is even more deceptive. It's brightly colored praise by fitness influencers and marketed as a miracle for blood flow. But for your kidneys, it can create a perfect storm you never see coming. If potatoes are the comforting danger people overlook, then beets are the polished, brightly colored trap that fools even the healthiest eaters. They look vibrant, they're praised everywhere on wellness blogs, and fitness influencers swear by beet juice for better circulation and lower blood pressure. You'll find beets in detox smoothies, pre-workout drinks, and natural energy powders. On the surface, they look like the perfect food for heart health, and for some people they are. But what's good for your heart can be quietly devastating for your kidneys, especially when that food is consumed in concentrated form. One of my patients, David, a 48-year-old fitness enthusiast, learned this the hard way. After reading about beet juice boosting athletic performance, he began drinking a tall glass every morning before his workouts. For 3 weeks, he felt unstoppable, more stamina, better pumps, quicker recovery. It all seemed like proof that the beet juice was working. But then the warning signs appeared: a dull ache in his lower back, cloudy urine fatigue that didn't match his training level. By the time he came into my office, his lab results showed severe kidney inflammation. A CT scan revealed oxalate crystals lodged throughout his kidneys, tiny razor-sharp formations that were blocking filtration pathways like gravel pouring into a water filter. His diagnosis: acute oxalate nephropathy, a sudden kidney injury caused by excessive beet intake. This happens because beets carry a double threat. First, they're naturally high in potassium. One glass of beet juice contains around 450 to 600 milligrams. For a healthy person, that might not matter, but for anyone with reduced kidney function, that's a massive strain. The second and far more dangerous threat is oxalates. Beets can contain up to 152 milligrams of oxalates per 100 grams, and when they're juiced or powdered, those levels become concentrated in a way your kidneys were never designed to handle. Oxalates bind with calcium to form sharp crystals irritating kidney tissue, clogging filtration systems, and in some cases causing sudden blockages that lead to kidney failure. Medical journals have documented real cases of healthy people developing kidney damage after just a few weeks of beet smoothies or beet powder supplements. But here's the part most people don't realize: beets aren't inherently evil. The problem is concentration. A small amount roasted in a salad every now and then is fine. The danger appears when beets are turned into juice shots, powders, or cleansed drinks. If you choose to eat beets, occasionally pair them with calcium-rich foods like yogurt or cheese, which help bind oxalates in the gut before they ever reach your kidneys. And avoid beet powders or concentrated juices entirely, no matter how clean, organic, or natural the label looks. As you hear this, I want you to think about how often we trust superfoods just because they're colorful or trending. How many times have you added something to your diet because the internet told you it was healthy without understanding what it does inside your body? That blind trust is exactly how kidney damage sneaks up on even the most health-conscious people. But only knowing this isn't enough, because the next food on our list is far more aggressive, and unlike beets, it doesn't take weeks to hurt you. In fact, for some people, it can trigger kidney damage in a single weekend. If beets can injure your kidneys slowly, rhubarb is the one that strikes like lightning. It looks innocent, bright red stalks, glossy leaves, that sweet tart flavor so many people love in pies and jams. On the surface, it feels harmless, even nostalgic. But beneath that cheerful color lies one of the most dangerous plants you could ever eat if your kidneys are even slightly vulnerable. Rhubarb is nature's master of disguise, because inside those crisp stalks is an oxalate load so extreme that even one generous serving can tip the kidneys into crisis. That's exactly what happened to Sarah, a 56-year-old teacher who loved baking. She wasn't reckless, she wasn't overeating junk, she wasn't ignoring her health. She was simply sharing her famous rhubarb crisp at 3 family gatherings in a single weekend. But by Monday morning, she was doubled over in pain, nauseous, and struggling to urinate. At the hospital, tests showed that her kidney function had plummeted. Microscopic crystals were clogging her nephrons, the delicate filtration units that keep your blood clean, just like sand clogging a water filter. The diagnosis was severe acute oxalate nephropathy. Her kidneys weren't just irritated, they were shutting down. She needed temporary dialysis before her kidneys slowly recovered. Here's why rhubarb hits so fast. 1 cup of diced stalks can contain more than 1,000 milligrams of oxalates, 20 times more than a sensitive kidney can safely handle in a single day. When oxalates flood the bloodstream, they bind with calcium and form sharp needles that scratch, tear, and block kidney tissue. Unlike potassium overload, which builds gradually, rhubarb's impact can be sudden and catastrophic. And cooking doesn't save you. Baking or simmering rhubarb doesn't destroy oxalates. It often makes them more concentrated per bite. The result, a perfect storm of microscopic crystals that overwhelm the kidneys before you even realize something is wrong. If you truly love that tart flavor, there are safer substitutes. Berries, apples, and cranberries offer the same refreshing brightness without the oxalate overload. But for anyone with chronic kidney disease, high creatinine kidney stones, or even mild filtration decline, rhubarb isn't just a risky food, it's a bright red warning sign. One dish can be enough to cause serious harm, which is why nephrologists often tell vulnerable patients to avoid it entirely. As you listen to this, ask yourself how many foods in your life seem harmless simply because they're homemade, traditional, or natural. How often do we assume that danger only comes from processed foods or fast food? Rhubarb is the perfect reminder that the most dangerous foods aren't always the ones we expect. They're often the ones that look the most innocent. But only knowing this isn't enough, because the next vegetable delivers a double attack, high potassium and high oxalates at the same time, and it's one that many health-conscious people eat every single day without realizing the strain they're placing on their kidneys. If rhubarb is the sudden shock that hits your kidneys in one violent wave, Swiss chard is the slow, disguised overload that wears them down from 2 sides at once. It looks like the picture of health: deep green leaves, colorful stems, the kind of vegetable you see on magazine covers and wellness influencers' plates. People think eating more Swiss chard automatically means eating cleaner, healthier, more plant-based. But the truth is far more complicated, and for vulnerable kidneys, far more dangerous. Swiss chard is one of the few vegetables that carries both high potassium and high oxalates, at the same time, a combination that forces your kidneys to fight a 2-front war they were never designed to win. Michael, a 62-year-old retiree, learned this firsthand. After his doctor warned him about cholesterol, he switched to a plant-heavy diet. He filled his fridge with greens and began sautéing Swiss chard almost every single day with garlic and olive oil. He believed he was doing everything right, eating lighter, cleaner, fresher. But by the time he came back for follow-up labs 2 months later, his potassium had climbed dangerously high, and imaging revealed the beginning stages of kidney stone formation. He stared at me confused, almost frustrated, and said, "Doctor, how could something this healthy be hurting me?" The answer lies in the numbers. 1 cup of cooked Swiss chard contains nearly 1,000 milligrams of potassium, almost identical to a baked potato. And on top of that, it can hold over 150 milligrams of oxalates, more than enough to trigger crystal formation in people prone to kidney stones. Potassium overload affects the heart's electrical rhythm, while oxalates scar and block the renal tubules. When both rise in the bloodstream at the same time, the kidneys are forced into a kind of metabolic panic, trying to balance electrolytes while also filtering out sharp crystals. It's like asking someone with a sprained ankle to sprint uphill while carrying weights. Eventually, something gives out. And here's what makes Swiss chard even trickier juicing. It turns a risky vegetable into an extremely dangerous one. When you juice Swiss chard, you remove the fiber and concentrate the potassium and oxalates into a single glass. Many people drink green detox juices loaded with spinach, Swiss chard, and beet greens, completely unaware they're creating a kidney-damaging cocktail disguised as a health drink. Meanwhile, boiling Swiss chard only reduces some of the soluble oxalates. The potassium largely remains, which is why the people trying the hardest to eat clean are often the ones harmed the fastest. The good news is that protecting yourself doesn't mean giving up greens. It simply means choosing smarter ones. Cabbage, kale, and lettuce offer the same leafy green benefits with a fraction of the kidney stress. When Michael swapped his daily Swiss chard for steamed cabbage and mixed greens, his potassium levels came down, his kidney stone risk dropped, and his energy returned. He told me something I hear from many patients I wish someone had told me sooner, that eating healthy still needs strategy. And that's the question I want you to reflect on right now. How many foods have you eaten just because someone labeled them healthy without ever knowing how they interact with your kidneys? It's not about fear, it's about understanding. Because the next vegetable on our list doesn't just challenge your kidneys, it can quietly sabotage them through one of the most overlooked biochemical traps in modern nutrition. But just knowing this alone isn't enough, because what comes next is even more deceptive and far more common, appearing in smoothies, salads, and so-called superfood cleanses every single day. If Swiss chard is the double attack that strains your kidneys from 2 angles, spinach is the quiet assassin that slips past almost everyone's radar. It's the golden child of the wellness world. Low-calorie, nutrient-dense, beautifully green, and praised endlessly by influencers, nutritionists, and fitness magazines. You'll see it blended into smoothies, tossed into salads, sautéed in olive oil, added to wraps, and even mixed into baby food. Spinach has become the symbol of clean eating. But what most people don't realize is that this innocent-looking leaf carries one of the highest oxalate concentrations of any vegetable on the planet. And for kidneys under pressure, that makes spinach far more dangerous than anyone expects. Jennifer, a 34-year-old yoga instructor, is a perfect example. She lived what most people consider the ideal healthy life: daily workouts, meditation, and a morning green smoothie she believed was fueling her body with pure goodness. That smoothie contained 3 to 4 cups of raw spinach, blended into a thick, vibrant green drink she proudly posted on Instagram. For 6 weeks, she felt amazing: more energy, a glowing complexion, sharper focus. And then one day the signs began creeping in. A dull pain in her lower back, persistent nausea, fatigue that didn't match her lifestyle. When she finally came in for testing, her kidneys were filled with oxalate crystals, blocking filtration pathways like tiny shards of glass. Her diagnosis: acute oxalate nephropathy. Her kidneys were so inflamed and congested that she required medical intervention just to bring her levels back to safety. And the heartbreaking part, she thought she was doing everything right. The science explains why this happens so easily. Just 100 grams of raw spinach contains around 170 milligrams of oxalates, already far more than a compromised kidney can safely manage. But nobody eats spinach in tiny portions. When you blend it into smoothies, you're not eating a salad. You're consuming the equivalent of multiple cups in a single gulp, often exceeding 2,000 milligrams of oxalates at once. Inside the body, these oxalates bind with calcium, forming razor-sharp crystals that scrape, irritate, inflame, and eventually block the tiny tubes responsible for filtering your blood. Over time, this microscopic damage accumulates, leading to kidney stones, pain, chronic inflammation, and in severe cases, kidney failure. Cooking spinach can reduce some oxalates, but not nearly enough to make daily large servings safe. But here's the hopeful part: you don't have to give up smoothies, salads, or leafy greens entirely. You simply need to rotate smarter alternatives. Kale, cabbage, parsley, romaine, and even zucchini can give you the same nutritional boost without the kidney-damaging oxalate load. And if you truly enjoy spinach, keep the portions small, cook it rather than blend it raw, and pair it with calcium-rich foods like yogurt or cheese to help bind oxalates in the gut before they reach your kidneys. Jennifer made these changes, and within weeks, her labs began to stabilize and her energy returned. She told me something I'll never forget: I didn't need a detox. I needed balance. And as you take all of this in, I want you to ask yourself one thing: how many healthy habits in your life are based on trends rather than true understanding? How often do we follow what's popular instead of what's actually safe for our own bodies? Spinach is the perfect reminder that even the cleanest-looking foods can carry hidden risks. But just knowing this alone won't protect your kidneys, because now it's time to shift from danger to defense toward the vegetables that don't damage your kidneys, but help restore them, protect them, and support your long-term health in ways most people never imagine. After hearing how spinach, Swiss chard, and other healthy greens can quietly overwhelm your kidneys, it's easy to feel discouraged, as if every vegetable might be a hidden threat. But that's not the truth. Because just as there are foods that silently damage your kidneys, there are also foods that help them recover, calm down, and regain balance. And one of the most powerful healing vegetables doesn't look flashy at all. It's not bright red like beets or deep green like spinach. It's humble, pale, and often overlooked cauliflower. Cauliflower doesn't scream for attention, but that might be its greatest strength. Unlike the other vegetables we've talked about, it's naturally low in potassium, low in phosphorus, low in oxalates, and incredibly gentle on the kidneys. It doesn't overload them. It doesn't irritate them. It doesn't push your filtration system into overdrive. Instead, it nourishes your body quietly and steadily, like a soft pillow for your kidneys, giving them room to rest and repair. One of my patients, Margaret, a 67-year-old grandmother, experienced this shift firsthand. When she first came into my clinic, she truly believed dialysis was only months away. Her creatinine was climbing, her energy was fading, and she woke up every morning with swelling that made her feel like she was dragging her body through wet sand. We replaced her nightly mashed potatoes, a potassium bomb for struggling kidneys, with a creamy cauliflower mash made with garlic and a little olive oil. It felt almost too simple, too easy to matter. But within 6 weeks, her potassium stabilized, her swelling decreased, her energy returned, and her labs finally shifted in the direction she'd been praying for. She looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, "I didn't realize something so small could make such a big difference." And the science backs this up. Cauliflower belongs to the cruciferous vegetable family, rich in compounds like sulforaphane and glucosinolates, powerful antioxidants that reduce inflammation and protect kidney cells from oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is one of the silent drivers behind kidney decline, damaging the very tissues responsible for filtering your blood. Sulforaphane helps neutralize these harmful molecules and supports the enzymes your body uses to detoxify naturally. In other words, cauliflower doesn't just avoid harming your kidneys, it actively helps them fight back, rebuild, and strengthen. And there's another reason cauliflower works so well: versatility. You can steam it, roast it, mash it, turn it into rice, blend it into soups, or season it with herbs and garlic for a satisfying kidney-friendly dish. It absorbs flavors beautifully, giving you comfort food without the kidney burden of potatoes or high oxalate greens. Many of my patients tell me that switching to cauliflower doesn't feel like a restriction, it feels like a relief. They get warmth, texture, and satisfaction without fear. So take a moment and ask yourself, what comfort foods can you swap with cauliflower to give your kidneys a break? It doesn't require a full diet overhaul, it just starts with one simple, smart replacement. But knowing this is just the beginning, because the next vegetable doesn't only protect your kidneys, it shields your heart, lowers inflammation, and adds a burst of color and vitality to every meal. And most people have no idea how powerful it truly is. If cauliflower is the quiet healer working behind the scenes, red bell peppers are the vibrant bodyguards standing right at the front line. They're bright, sweet, crisp, and full of life, the kind of vegetable that lights up a plate before you even take the first bite. But their real power goes far deeper than color. Red bell peppers are one of the rare vegetables that are naturally low in potassium, yet overflowing with antioxidants that protect both your kidneys and your heart at the same time. And in kidney health, that combination is pure gold. Most people think of bell peppers as just a garnish or a flavor booster, something you toss into a salad for crunch or into a stir-fry for color. But I once worked with a patient named George, a 61-year-old man dealing with stage 3 chronic kidney disease and stubborn high blood pressure. For years, he loaded his meals with tomato sauce, believing it was a clean, heart-healthy choice. His potassium climbed. His blood pressure remained unstable, and he felt heavy after almost every meal. When we swapped his tomato-based habits for red bell peppers, roasted, sautéed, blended into soups, or diced into salads, something remarkable happened. Within weeks, his potassium stabilized, his blood pressure dropped by 10 points, and he told me, "Doctor, I finally feel lighter after eating." Red bell peppers contain only about 250 milligrams of potassium per cup, far below the danger zone for kidney-compromised individuals. But what makes them truly special is their antioxidant load. They're packed with vitamin C, beta-carotene flavonoids, and lycopene, 4 powerful compounds that reduce inflammation, strengthen blood vessels, and neutralize free radicals that damage kidney cells. Chronic inflammation is one of the silent killers behind kidney decline, and red bell peppers fight it from multiple angles, helping your kidneys stay calm instead of constantly battling stress. And because kidney disease and heart disease often go hand in hand, the cardiovascular protection peppers provide becomes an added shield your body desperately needs. And the best part, they're incredibly easy to use. Slice them raw for a refreshing crunch, roast them for a smoky sweetness, sauté them with garlic for a kidney-friendly flavor burst, or blend them into a creamy soup that feels indulgent without overloading your filtration system. Red bell peppers prove that eating for your kidneys doesn't have to be bland or restrictive. It can be colorful, satisfying, and genuinely enjoyable. So think for a moment what high-potassium foods in your daily meals could be replaced with red bell peppers. One simple swap can completely transform how your kidneys feel after a meal. And the more you lean into these healing choices, the more control you gain over your long-term health. But this journey doesn't stop here, because the next ingredient on our list doesn't just flavor your meals, it actively lowers inflammation, reduces blood pressure, and shields your kidneys from the cellular stress that causes long-term decline. And unbelievably, it's something you probably already have sitting in your kitchen right now. After exploring the bright protection of red bell peppers, we move to something far smaller, humbler, and more ancient, something that has been healing people long before modern medicine even existed. Garlic. For thousands of years, civilizations across the world used garlic to purify blood, fight illness, and strengthen the body. And today, modern science finally explains why this tiny clove carries such powerful kidney-protecting benefits. Garlic isn't just a flavor enhancer, it's a biochemical shield. I remember a patient named Patricia, a 60-year-old woman with stage 3 kidney disease and chronically high blood pressure. She had tried different medications, different diets, and different supplements, yet her blood pressure refused to budge. She felt like she was losing control of her own body. One day I suggested something surprisingly simple: add 2 crushed cloves of garlic to her meals every day, but let them sit for about 10 minutes before cooking. She raised an eyebrow, skeptical that something so small could make any real difference. But she followed the plan. 3 months later, she walked into my clinic smiling. Her blood pressure had dropped from 150/95 to 135/85. Her inflammation markers had improved, and she told me she felt calmer, clearer, and lighter, like her body had finally stopped fighting itself. The secret lies in a compound called allicin released when garlic is crushed or chopped. Allicin acts like a triple force protector. It reduces inflammation, lowers oxidative stress, and relaxes blood vessels, 3 of the biggest problems kidney patients face. Inflammation damages kidney tissue. Oxidative stress accelerates decline. Narrow blood vessels increase pressure and strain. Garlic tackles all 3 at once, giving your kidneys room to breathe. Multiple studies, even those published in journals like the Journal of Hypertension, show that regular garlic consumption can lower systolic blood pressure by 8 to 15 points. And unlike high-sodium seasonings that stress the kidneys, garlic adds flavor without any of the salt. And what makes garlic even more valuable is how versatile it is. You can add it to soups, pastas, stir-fries, roasted vegetables, grain bowls, virtually anything you cook. Letting crushed garlic sit for a few minutes before heating activates the allicin, making the kidney protective benefits even stronger. Many of my patients tell me that once they learn to cook with garlic, they don't even miss the salt they used to rely on. Their meals become richer, bolder, and far healthier for their kidneys. So think about your own kitchen for a moment. Are you seasoning your food in a way that supports your kidneys or stresses them? Sometimes the smallest change can create the biggest shift. Garlic proves that healing doesn't always require expensive supplements or complicated diets. Sometimes it's a tiny clove sitting quietly in your pantry, waiting to help. But this chapter isn't over yet, because the next vegetable doesn't simply protect your kidneys, it actually trains them to defend themselves, activating powerful internal pathways that help your body fight inflammation and oxidative damage on its own. And it's one of the most affordable, accessible foods you can buy. After understanding how garlic defends your kidneys from inflammation, stress, and high blood pressure, it's time to talk about a vegetable that works on an even deeper level. Because while garlic protects you from the outside, cabbage trains your kidneys to protect themselves from within. It doesn't just help your body, it teaches your body. And that makes it one of the most underestimated kidney healing foods you'll ever find. Cabbage isn't glamorous. It's not colorful like peppers or trendy like kale. It doesn't show up in detox smoothies or influencer meal preps. In fact, most people walk right past it in the produce aisle without giving it a second glance. But inside this simple, inexpensive vegetable is a compound so powerful that researchers call it a cellular defense switch. That compound is sulforaphane, a nutrient that activates the NRF2 pathway, the same biochemical pathway responsible for your body's internal antioxidant system. When NRF2 is activated, your cells begin producing their own detox enzymes, their own anti-inflammatory compounds, and their own protective antioxidants. It's like flipping on an internal shield that strengthens your kidneys from the inside out. One of my long-term patients, also named George, experienced just how transformative cabbage could be. He'd been struggling with chronic inflammation and early kidney decline for years. We didn't overhaul his diet overnight or put him on anything extreme. Instead, I asked him to add just a few small portions of steamed cabbage into his weekly routine 3 times a week in soups, stir-fries, or lightly sautéed with garlic and olive oil. Over the next few months, his inflammation markers dropped, his energy levels rose, and to his surprise, his eGFR, a key measure of kidney function, began inching upward. It wasn't dramatic overnight progress. It was steady, consistent healing. And he told me something that stuck with me, doctor. I didn't expect something so cheap to make me feel this good. And that's the beauty of cabbage. It's low in potassium, low in phosphorus, low in oxalates, meaning it's safe for the kidneys, even in people dealing with later-stage kidney disease. It supports digestion, reduces toxic load, and helps the gut eliminate waste more efficiently, taking pressure off your kidneys. Combined with the NRF2 activation, cabbage becomes a powerful stabilizer, a food that helps your kidneys calm down, repair, and resist further damage. Most people spend hundreds of dollars on supplements trying to get these benefits without realizing the answer has been sitting quietly in their kitchen all along. And the best part is how easy cabbage is to incorporate. You can eat it raw in coleslaw, steam it until soft and comforting, saute it with herbs, add it to soups, or pair it with garlic for an even stronger anti-inflammatory effect. It fits into almost any diet and any lifestyle. You don't need to be a chef, you just need to be consistent. Little by little, cabbage supports the quiet kind of healing that makes the biggest long-term difference. So ask yourself this: if a simple, inexpensive vegetable can help your kidneys defend themselves from the inside out, why not start today? Healing doesn't always come from complicated solutions. It often begins with the simplest choices we overlook. But there's still one final truth you need to hear. Because even with all this knowledge about what harms and what heals, most people are still trapped by one massive myth, a myth that leads millions into kidney damage without even knowing it. And once you understand this last piece, everything about protecting your kidneys will finally make sense. If you've made it this far, I want you to take a moment and give yourself credit. Most people never learn how their daily habits affect their kidneys until it's too late. but you're here listening, learning, and taking responsibility for your health. That alone already puts you miles ahead. And remember, you don't need to change everything overnight. Healing doesn't happen through perfection. It happens through small, consistent choices. Swap one risky food for a safer one. Add one healing vegetable to your plate. Listen to the quiet signals your body sends. Those tiny decisions add up in ways you can't imagine. And before you go do something for your future self, save this video so you can come back to it whenever you need guidance. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Every week I share clear, science-backed kidney health tips, from foods that protect your kidneys to hidden habits that quietly damage them to simple routines that help your body stay balanced. I don't want you to miss any of it, because one piece of information at the right time can genuinely change your health. And here's the message I want to leave you with today. Your kidneys may be quiet, but they're always listening. When you care for them, they respond. When you give them relief, they heal. And when you choose the right foods, even small steps can shift the direction of your entire future. So be patient, be consistent, and be kind to your body. You have far more power over your health than you think. And I'll be right here every week walking this journey with you. I'm Dr. Johnny. Thank you for watching, thank you for caring, and I'll see you in the next video.